Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 27. I'm here tonight with none other than Alexis Schlegel.
Hello.
And a newcomer tonight, okay? This is like, this is
Hi,
Statist
how's
Ned.
everybody doing?
This is Statist Ned.
Statist Ned.
Hi. I'm here to kind of bring a little balance to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So yeah, we're trying out Statist Ned tonight. Ned is actually a very good friend of mine. Has been for many years. We both played in various bands together in Baltimore throughout the years, and we just had many a nights, getting drunk and blazed and
arguing libertarianism.
Yeah, arguing libertarianism or politics. Philosophy, just all the stuff that two guys do when they're getting drunk and blazed.
Well, I think it's also fair to say that Matt and I don't see eye to eye on every single issue.
That's where the nickname Statist Ned came in.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a misnomer. I'm probably not the most statist guy in the world, but compared to these folks, well.
No, yeah, totally. You definitely have your libertarian bent, on many an issue, I'd say.
Yeah, but not every single issue. Some things,
totally
some
not,
things,
dude.
Your statist light.
Yeah. Well, I think compared to a lot of your listening audience, I'm one step away from the jackbooted fascist.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be fun. Okay, that wasn't really that funny. So, but I mean, it was funny that you guys did that. But it was like you should probably wait till a funnier joke.
A funnier joke, okay.
Yeah, like right then, that would have been a good time.
So a guy walks into a bar.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about the TPP, Matt. You posted an article on the website. I think it's an issue where, well, one, it's been buried in the media, and it's, I think, something that needs to be brought up. And
dude, I think before we talk about the TPP, though, we should talk about the new chick that you're boning.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, dude. Tell us about
that's
it.
Not really,
Come on, dish.
That's not really as important as the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yeah, totally, dude. But I don't know. It's kind of fun too.
Okay. Well. All right.
Kiss and tell.
No, I'm not gonna reveal too much because
ATM.
I'm not gonna disclose too much information. But
Are you gonna go to the ATM?
So, no. It was interesting. Just anytime you're dating, the topic of what are your philosophic beliefs or political beliefs? Because let's face it, there's certain issues that I cannot reconcile, and therefore would not be a good mix with me. So it's just like I try to get that out in the forefront. And anyways, the topic came up about going up to this past Pork Fest. So explaining libertarianism and that I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, trying to explain voluntarism, trying to explaining I'm kind of like an anarchist, a voluntarist, and a libertarian, trying to explain this, and then talking about Pork Fest. It was pretty funny. She this girl that I'm currently dating, she thinks it's kind of cultish. Yeah, the whole Pork Fest thing. Yeah.
Well, from an outsider's perspective,
I could see that.
Had they never been exposed to libertarianism at all, might see Pork Fest as kind of a cult activity. I mean, it's a bunch of guys.
If you go there and you go in the Black Dome.
There it is.
Okay,
the Black Dome right
bad
there.
example.
I mean, if that's not cult, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but I mean, just trying to explain and just explaining what's going on with the Free State Project in New Hampshire and how it all came about, and just explaining this festival that takes place. It was interesting. So she described it as kind of cultish. So, but it's fun. It was just in good nature. We were just joking around.
Well, a lot of people see things that are different from their day-to-day reality, and that's a pretty different thing from day-to-day reality. It doesn't involve. It's being such a voluntary activity by everybody who's involved in it. Now, I've never been, but Matt's told me about it a bunch of times.
But even that, like, it was so just trying to explain it,
Hey,
just on talking issues.
Hey, Statist net, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So, dude, it sounds like you think Porkfest would be pretty fun.
I do think it would be pretty fun. I think, probably the thing that would unnerve me the most would be the open carry aspect of it.
Dude, they've got Vagisil for that.
Well, no, I mean, it is just, it is just my...
That would have been a good, like, snare drum symbol, but
Yeah, but the
it's
joke
too
was
late
on
now.
him.
It's too late now.
I would have just been able to snare drum. The joke was on Ned. He couldn't have snared it.
Yeah. So you're saying that would be pretty scary to have, like, people open carrying?
Well, I think anytime you're around a lot of people that you don't know, you have no idea what their motivations are, what they could be doing, or if they'd had too much to drink. Or
like, for instance, like if you went to the mall.
Well, there's that, but I don't find when I go to the mall that people are carrying sidearms.
I mean, dude, like one of the safest malls in Baltimore is probably Columbia, I'm guessing.
Well, that's in Columbia,
Like,
not in Baltimore.
Like,
but anyway.
no, I'm just saying. What wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that
Baltimore
that has the reputation as being one of the steadier ones.
Yeah, I mean, and even that mall. I mean, I know there's crime that goes on, but I think like last year somebody was shot there, at least one person.
That's very true. That kind of speaks volumes about the ubiquitousness of firearms in our society.
Well, I mean, dude, I think Columbia Mall is already a gun-free zone.
Well, then obviously they have an enforcement problem.
Well, I mean, how should they enforce this? Should they just pat everybody down that goes in?
Oh, I don't know. You go into the
maybe
into
stick a
into
couple
the
fingers up
airport.
their
You go
asses?
through a metal detector.
What if we had the
they
TSA
wand
at the
you?
mall cupping everybody's balls?
I might be for that, depending on who's performing that.
Yeah, like, what if
now there's that.
Yeah, I guess there is something like if it was like a bunch of hot chicks
semi-erotic,
in like a wet T-shirt,
like ball cupping
Sounds
thing.
great.
contest,
Sign me
like cupping balls or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like a different thing, you know.
Well, obviously, since there's never been a shooting at Porkfest that I know of,
No.
right? I don't think there ever has been.
No, it never has, and there's more open carrying than I've ever seen
Right.
in person in my entire life.
I can
Yeah,
see how
besides
that
besides at a fucking
But
gun
what
show.
about the possibility of just sheer fucking accident? You know,
I mean, dude,
you're
why
gonna
doesn't
be
this-
you're wandering around with. I mean, I have seen plenty of accidental firearm discharges in my day by people who were just fucking around.
I've never seen one at Porkfest, but would you feel unsafe going to a gun show?
Unsafe going to a gun show?
gun
No,
show.
not terribly.
So you've been to gun shows?
Huh?
You've been to gun shows?
I have never been to a gun show.
Okay, but you would go to a gun show,
I would.
dude. So we should go to a fucking gun show.
Okay.
Yeah, they have got them at Pikesville Armory, Howard
Yeah.
County Fairgrounds. Yeah, we should go to a gun show, dude.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you when you my point is though, when you go to a gun show, dude, like there's a lot of people armed. You know, there are people
Right.
just buying guns, walking around with them. You know, there's gun dealers that are armed.
but there's a lot of scrutiny on them too. You know, it's not like they're doing their own thing out in the woods with 10,000 guys just like them with like no supervision. If you're at a gun show, you're at like the armory or someplace somewhere. There are presumably cameras on you. If not, the venue
I
security.
mean, there are cameras on you at the mall.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, it's the gun show. I've been to like a ton of them.
Well-
and I've never felt unsafe at one, not for 1 second.
Well, who wants to be the first guy to fuck it up for everybody at the gun show? Shooting off a gun.
I mean, you can say the same thing for who wants to be the first guy to fuck it up for everybody shooting at the mall. But I mean,
Right.
the bottom line is, there's going to be, whether you've got these laws or not, there's going to be the worst people are going to probably just bring them there, and break that law. So the best people, perhaps are not going to bring them at all because they don't want to break a law. And those are the people that you want armed to defend you against the worst people who would break the law.
But would you agree with would you categorize a gun show a soft target or a hard target? Would you characterize the shopping mall as a soft target or a hard target?
I mean, of course the shopping mall is going to be an easier target because it's a gun-free zone. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, are you proving my argument?
Well, no, you could also say that there's should be a realistic expectation of when you're in a public space, right? That you don't have to go armed.
No, I mean, dude, I don't think you should make it mandatory to to be armed. And honestly, I'm not sure that I'm of the sort that would want to go everywhere armed. And I don't think you would need everybody to. But I mean, I think if you had more good people doing it, I think that you would feel safer. And dude, like carrying a gun in and of itself should never be a crime. Because I mean, what did you do with that gun? It's pre-crime. It's judging on what you're about to do, or what you might not even about to do. What you could possibly do.
You could possibly do. Yes.
There's somebody walking down the street carrying a gun, and if that's their only act, I mean, they didn't hurt anybody. I mean, what are they really guilty of? Is that worth a mandatory minimum of 5 or 10 years in a rape cage?
Well, they make the same sort of argument a lot between, say, firearms and cars. Is there a higher expectation that you could do harm to other people's property, yourself, whatever, with a car than just walking down the street? Right? Is the car, because the car has a certain kinetic energy to it, it goes fast, it's a big piece of metal, you can wreck stuff up with it. Should you be under the same onus walking down the street as if you were driving a car?
I don't know where you're going with this, Statist, Ned.
Well, this is where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you have to break in, dude. And dude, there was no snare on that. You have to hold up the snare drum. That shit sounded fucking weak, dude. Fucking weak sauce,
All right,
dude.
one more time.
All right, where are we going with this, Ned?
All right, so what I'm saying to you is, if Matt says that there's no crime walking down the street with a firearm. Now, a firearm is a machine not unlike a car in the respect that it can cause damage, significant damage to other people, yourself, other people's property, whatever. So if I'm driving my car down the street, right, I have to have insurance so that if I do run into somebody else's car, there's some mechanism for them to seek redress against me.
Right.
Right? Right. So,
But that's
so
a
that's
law.
not
It's
exactly
a law to have insurance.
that's not exactly the same thing as a crime, right? But it is still a restriction that's placed upon you because you're operating a motor vehicle.
To have insurance. But there's still people that drive without insurance.
That's very true too. And that is, but would you say the majority of people drive with insurance or without?
I say the majority do, not because it's a law, just because it makes fucking sense.
All right. That
I don't think you need a law to say, hey, it's probably good to cover your ass to have insurance.
Right.
Much
Okay.
like I don't.
So if I'm walking down the street with a gun, which has the same sort of potential to cause these types of harm to people, stuff, whatever. Irrespective of whether or not I actually do something with it, because I'm not going to be doing that with my car too. I could drive the car down the street, smash up anything I wanted to, right? But I don't, right? So if I still have to have the insurance to drive the car down the street. What's to say that if you are walking with, you want to carry a gun in the open, that you shouldn't have some kind of liability policy in case, who knows, somebody lifts it out of your pocket at the 7-Eleven, sees it sitting there on your holster, decides to be an asshole, picks it out of your pocket, discharges it.
I guess it's. I don't know where to go with this. Basically, I'm saying. I mean, there's always inherent risk in a free society.
Of course.
There's always potential of something to happen. It's just, and I don't think you need to have laws. Just going back to your point with car insurance. I mean, shit, I was in a car accident and the asshole didn't have car insurance. This was like years ago. So, I paid my deductible, but I didn't, I had to pay my deductible. And, this guy, there's laws against not driving, by not having car insurance. It's against the law, but people still do it. So I just feel as though, laws don't dictate. They dictate behavior to a certain extent, But then
That's
personal responsibility.
That's the express idea of a law.
But then personal responsibility comes into play. I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, it's personal responsibility.
So if you thought that, would you feel comfortable if you wanted to carry a firearm in public with carrying a liability policy on it in case something fucked up went wrong?
No,
Why?
because I know.
Wouldn't that just be covering your ass?
No, I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I think it's just more regulation that's not. It's not needed. I just don't think it. I think. Anyways, what do you think, Matt?
I agree. It is not needed, man. It's I don't know, dude. It's over 99% of guns that are purchased legally are never even used in a crime. So I mean that means that's we're getting an A+++ on the test already, like legal gun owners. So I don't know why throw like a needless tax on them, because when so few of them are doing it.
Yeah, like
legal gun owners.
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
most
so
crimes that are committed, they're technically. I mean, look at the drug war in Baltimore.
All right,
look at all the murders that take place in Baltimore. I mean, they're not done by it's gang members. It's violent. They're not purchasing their firearms legally.
They're not buying them from Walmart, Ned.
No, they're not going to. So why should I be, so it's just, most firearms.
Okay, but there is a class of crime, and it's been in the news a lot lately, right? The whole mass shooting thing.
Right, but that's
and everybody that's been involved in the two guys who were involved in the last two, last three, all bought their guns legally.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, it happens. But the vast majority...
It doesn't happen with anything close to the kind of frequency that it does now. I mean, yeah, actually, dude, stuff like that.
Violent crime is actually down, dude. Like gun crimes are actually down.
I've looked at and that is I can't deny that.
Do you have the documents?
No, I've seen the stuff. And
and fucking cops have killed over 2,000 people so far this year. Last time I heard. So I mean, who should we really talk about disarming?
Well, so then should you have it? Is it something that we just plain old don't need to worry about at all?
I mean, it's going to happen either way. I mean, all I'm talking about.
So we don't need to do anything about it. Nothing.
Ned, all I'm talking about, Statist Ned,
yes,
is that people should have the right to defend themselves. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not arguing for murder. I'm not saying let's make murder legal. But if somebody's willing to disobey the law of murder, like the highest law of the land, the universally most recognized, most extreme fucked up thing to do, murder. If they're willing to disobey that law,
not kill.
What makes you think they're not going to disobey a law that says you can't bring a gun into this gun-free zone?
I mean, yeah, gun-free school zones. I mean, you're not technically supposed to bring your gun in said zone, but it seems to be.
I don't know. I mean, I have 3 children. I don't think that I would. There's a police officer, in fact, an armed one at the high school. Right now. Does that make me feel any safer? No. I mean, I actually think that it shouldn't be too. And I said this before. That's the public sphere. There should be an expectation that you should not have to have a fucking guy with a gun.
No, like
guarding
I
your
agree.
kids in a free society.
I agree with that too. I mean, but look where we, and I think that brings up the further question: is like what is really causing this? Is it an inanimate object, or is it the breakdown of families? Is it the pharmaceuticals? Is it mental health?
Maybe it's all of it.
And that's the thing, and I think that's something we need to really focus on more. Is like what's causing this? What are the drivers to happen that this seems to be recurring and happening in society? Than just blaming this inanimate object, and how can we, basically?
Or could people really honestly be in denial about maybe not I mean, let's face it. My analogy, the analogy between cars and guns is inexact, right?
Any analogy, it's tough because a lot of times in the debates, people talk about, well, in this country, or they try to compare countries, and it's like, you can't do that. You can't, population, socioeconomics.
I'm just talking about like basic stuff, for example.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right,
yeah,
right. So you could say that I think that we could have a intellectual agreement that a gun, the major purpose of a car is to transport people from point A to point B, and get them there, and the primary use of the car is for that. Now, it has the potential to be horribly destructive, but that is not its intended thing, right?
Right.
Now, a gun is different in this respect because a gun is a weapon. A weapon's a kind of a tool, but it's a weapon, right? It is made for the express intent of putting kinetic energy downrange on your opponent and fucking them up. I mean, that's what the gun is for. That's it, right? I mean, there are even if you say target shooting, I have a pistol. I love to target shoot. Pop cans and stuff like that. It's great. I get I've hunted occasionally. It's I'm no stranger to firearms.
Yeah. That's,
I think, one of the things that gives me pause when everybody talks about it. My dad was from Wyoming. Everybody had guns.
yeah.
And it just wasn't a thing. But at the same time, there was a kind of a understanding between everybody involved that that the guns were serious shit. And I don't think it's like that here in Maryland to the same degree. I think that it's overly glamorized, and a lot of people can buy firearms and not even be educated even slightly in the rudiments of their actual use, let alone safety procedures with them, right? And I've seen it.
Dude, nobody ever blamed the lightsaber. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we could go around in circles on this topic, but I just don't
No, as to how you would well, let's use the Australian example.
Statist Ned.
Yeah.
Statist Ned, okay?
Enough.
Dude, why don't we use the Israeli example, dude? Because right now in fucking Israel, dude, you've got Palestinians running around stabbing people, apparently. And then apparently the government of Israel is encouraging citizens to carry around their personal firearms to, stop the situations.
Right. Could you imagine on the flip side, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, the mayor of Baltimore, be like, "Hey, this has been the most,
there's rioting in the streets. I'm advising all the citizenry to arm themselves."
This has been the most violent when it comes to murders, the highest murder rate in I don't know what, how many years?
Well,
and could you imagine Stephanie Rawlings, the mayor of Baltimore, coming out and say, "Hey, I highly recommend that all the citizens of Baltimore open carry."
Stephanie Rawlings Blake's administration is a failed state.
Well,
everybody knows that.
Let's face it. But not even just her, but just any politician in this country to say in said case, there's crime on the rise. I highly encourage. That's just such a rarity. But it's just the difference in what's going on.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, that's one of our allies speaking.
Yeah, right. So. But so Matt, you want to talk about? We started talking about it, then we kind of went off on a tangent on gun control. But you want to talk about the TPP that you posted an article on the website, and we were both talking about it, and just
I heard about
most people don't really know about what's going on.
Yeah,
with this.
the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So right now there's a trade deal that's worked out, I believe, between 12 nations.
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's probably 16 or 20, some of the smaller ones. It's a lot.
I'm pretty sure the documentary we just watched said 12.
Okay, we'll go with 12.
But I don't know. Okay, say it's 16. At any rate, it's 40% of the world's trade is involved, covered under this.
A lot of it's high tech trade too.
Yeah,
so it's very lucrative.
One of the things it's going to do is it'll force internet service providers to crack down on people, downloading, CDs or whatevs, bootleg stuff online. And I'm sorry.
I heard about this over a year ago, and it was really in response to a lot of net neutrality things, where they were blasting a lot of the provisions that they've been able to find out about in the Pacific, the TPP. Now, this is something where, being sort of a more statist guy, I can't believe that there isn't some type of legal manner to force them to tell us what's in this thing, because everything I hear about it is
it's
bad.
the most criminal shit ever, and mostly because there's I believe 28 or 29 chapters to this bill, and 4 of them leaked out, and from the experts who have read the 4 of them, they say internet service providers are going to be busting people for downloading music and movies and whatever else software. And then also it's like if you make a pack of cigarettes in fucking Chile and your label looks too much like Marlboro can sue you. It's a bunch of silly IP stuff like that.
A lot of patent laws with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, a lot of patent laws, which are
a lot of
in effect
software
government granted monopolies. And
movie protections.
And they're basically trying to stretch these monopolies overseas. It's pretty disturbing, and nothing about it is free.
Now, here's one of the really interesting things about the TPP is, guess who is not involved in it?
China?
China is not involved in it.
I noticed that.
Because it is an attempt by our trading corporatist, the people who are, a lot of them are really pulling the strings and really contributing heavily to campaigns.
Yeah, this whole thing is Obama's deal, from what I've heard.
Well, it's his deal. It's his deal, but there are way more people behind it than him.
Well, it's pretty fucked up that
probably goes deeper than that.
It probably goes balls deep, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, it doesn't. It does in fact go balls deep. But
tell us, Statist Ned.
Well, everything that I've been able to read about it basically means that one of the big provisions in it is what you were talking about, which is being able to sue corporations, to sue other governments and other corporations in people who are part of the TPP in secret. There's no oversight to it at all.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
And that should scare everybody.
Secret courts.
Yes,
that should scare everybody. Secret courts going across nations from nation to nation. It's fucking insane, dude. It's how is this freedom?
How is this statist? This is not statist at all. This is corporatist at its root level.
Well,
corporatism wouldn't exist without the state. Statist, Ned.
But my view of the role,
Dude, Alexis just busted the documents all over your face. Damn, dude. You want to go wipe out those documents and come back?
So anyway, but yeah, doesn't the state have an obligation to protect its citizenry from corporatist entities within its own midst? That has been the object of states.
Well, once again, dude, a corporation could not
in.
exist without a government. Corporations are corporations because they're granted government, they're granted their corporate status by government.
Right, but there should be no environmental laws. There should be no workplace regulations.
Dude, nobody said that there should be total fucking chaos, dude.
Right.
I will say that there are better ways to deal with things possibly than a violent monopoly of force.
Obviously, you have to try anything, and I'm also, a pragmatist too. And if you can make a good argument that you can do something without state intervention, then yeah, it's conceivably better because it doesn't involve just the resources of the state. Period. And it happens on its own.
It's hard to make an argument about that because it's never been tried, really.
Well,
has it never been tried totally? I've read about we gotta have John Vibes on sometime because he's actually he's versed in ways where anarchy has been tried before, or voluntarism, And it's pretty interesting, dude. But I mean, I think you have anarchy for a week at Porkfest, and everybody survives. You know.
Right. Yeah. I guess so. I mean, on small scales, I guess it can.
Yeah. Could you do it for an entire
dude,
year?
is this Statist Ned talking or Alexis, dude?
Oh, I don't
if
know.
I had my eyes closed, I would not. I would be confused.
Well, no, I just mean in like modern times. In modern times, it hasn't, been tried.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I think so much of your life is anarchy already. You know, you go out and you make choices. The government, doesn't tell you what to do. You know, you figure out a place to eat. You figure out clothes to buy. Blah blah blah. You know, and corporations have all this power through government. You've got the largest corporations writing laws and regulations for just to knock out their competition. So. Without that corporatist power, that is granted by government, you would have more small businesses. You would have more people working for themselves, seeing the profits of their own label. You would have, lesser wealth inequality. And this is like a free, organic way of doing it. If markets are not free, people are not free.
But can you have a truly free market that exists on even a statewide, just geographic area speaking?
If we can have this discussion all day, and you can. I mean, I'm not going to say that you're going to do this, but I mean, you'll probably try to point out well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? And and for everything that you're going to say, I can say, well, look what's happening now, dude. I mean, this is we've got some pretty bad chaos right now, and then we've got these large corporations, and we've got less small businesses than ever, and it's only since we started going after these people that we have these great small businesses. I mean, that we've lost all these small businesses. I mean, there was more mom and pop stores.
Well, that's true.
In the
Right
US
down
50
the
years
right down the
ago,
block from where we are.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a lot more, dude. And it's only since all this regulation. Not to say that you didn't have big guys before, but you had more of the small guys.
Well, there are plenty of places that I've been to where they actually do, where the state does exclude the big corporate guys from coming in. The people who live there were able to convince their state government to enact, laws and zoning restrictions and things like that to prevent Walmarts and Home Depots and things like that from coming into.
Dude, that's a very good question. Alex, we got to talk about this, dude, as libertarians, dude.
Zoning laws.
So we got to talk about this.
Property rights.
No, because and then Statist Ned, dude. Hey, bro, what's up?
Hey.
Dude, you might dig this idea too. But I mean, we'll just talk about it and throw it out there, okay? So, what do you think, Alexis, about if a state said fucking no, McDonald's can't come in, Burger King can't come in? What if they held all those big corporations out? Now, on one hand, you could say that no, they're limiting trade. These corporations are going to bring in healthy competition. But on the other hand, if you believe a corporation shouldn't exist, and then if you have the right to vote a corporation out of your state because you believe a corporation shouldn't exist, do you think that it would be immoral to vote for such legislation or not? Well, I mean, is voting immoral in general if you're an anarchist? But I don't know. You get what I'm saying.
Man, yeah, this it's a pretty heavy question.
Dude.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. At a state level, I mean, if you were looking at things through federalism, through the Constitution, things should be handled at the state level in theory. So if, that's pretty. But if the federal government is allowing. We're talking TPP here, so that's on a transnational. That's on that's on the federal level, transnational. We're talking multiple different countries and corporations. I guess at the local level, because you kind of want to handle things at the lowest possible level. I guess at the state level, if they're making all these agreements and basically advancing corporatism on that level, and you're at the state and local level, and this is being foisted upon you, I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question. Like, would I be in favor of that? Pushing out the little guy, like corporations coming in and just, but then again, I think we can all agree as libertarians that these laws shouldn't exist in the first place to allow companies to get so big or the mechanisms of corporatism within this, the state allowing it to happen via laws and regulations and basically, cronyism that exists. So yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know. Like that. Give us like an example. Like maybe I don't know. Like where this is taking place.
So you're saying a good example, New York City.
Okay. Do go on.
Well, in New York City, you can't have in certain neighborhoods. You can't have everything has to be a kind of a mom and pop thing. You might have the occasional McDonald's, but it can't. You can't really get that kind of thing. Now, it's to my mind too, kind of a certain hindrance of I can't get all the stuff that I want. It does cost more, right? You don't have the great variety that you would have with the big box stores like you see out here in the burbs.
Dude, maybe that's just the cost of income equality.
Oh man, we're going on. Oh jeez.
Statist Ned.
Okay, but all right. So there's a positive role of the state, right?
Is there?
No, I'm saying that was the question though, because
right.
It's basically as libertarians, we kind of hate all these regulations and shit. But as libertarians as well, a lot of us think that a corporation shouldn't even exist, as it is granted, unjust rights by government, So rights that an individual doesn't have, and it's granted sometimes the rights.
So what do you think of the ability
well.
of corporations to contribute money to politicians' campaigns because they have the same sort of they've been equated in the last few years with some of the same rights that people have in terms of being able to have free speech?
Well, I've always thought that politicians should be like NASCAR drivers and just wear all their sponsors on their jackets.
Right.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's basically.
Can you imagine how much bling there would be on the floor of Congress?
I mean, when you think about it, dude, it really doesn't. Even if the corporations were backing these candidates, like, you see, I don't know where I go on this, because it's like, on one hand, a lot of the people in the corporations are kind of like working with what they have, and they're playing the game that they're given by the government. But at the same time, they're helping create that game. It's almost like the government,
or does the government have a role to step in and
the
say,
corporation? It's almost like with the large corporations. It's like, what's the difference, the government or the corporation? If the corporation's writing the laws to give it this unjust,
but maybe the government needs to have a
advantage.
different role than just to be the protector of the corporation.
Stay out of the market, man. Because like the first antitrust laws in this country were for the railroads. And they said they were written to bust up monopolies, but when in actuality they were written to, stifle.
Were they written to that, or did the people who were involved in them, end up learning how to play
to give them an unfair advantage and to then in effect, have price control. So
nobody likes price controls. Yeah, I mean the two things that you cannot do in any kind of free market. It's just, that's just Econ 101. What has a chilling effect on is A, having price controls, and B, having guaranteed income.
So you're against price controls?
I don't think price controls work. That's pretty obvious.
So why would you think a price control would work in healthcare?
Actually,
dude, you guys totally missed a fucking drum roll right there. Okay? All right.
I'm new at this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, this is the new thing for this week. So.
Yeah.
We might need someone like a full.
I don't know.
We might need an intern to do this.
Yeah, totally. Dude.
Just strictly on that.
Right.
Yeah,
so
we're
whenever
trying
they think it's appropriate.
like a hot intern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Topless.
Wait, what? Yeah,
topless intern.
Hot topless intern.
Yeah, and just with the.
Oh hell, just
the
the naked. Why just topless?
Okay.
All right.
Or a bottomless intern.
We'll figure it out on the next podcast.
Yeah. Well, Stella's not wearing
clothes. We'll sort this out. But
She doesn't have hands either.
That's wrong. So, anyway, where are we going, Matt? We're talking. We're talking price controls, right?
Well,
Talking
price controls
economics.
with respect to healthcare.
So we're going off on
Yeah.
healthcare.
Healthcare.
Because we were just talking about this
Unfortunately,
because you're having some issues right now.
I am
man.
having some issues right now.
What are your issues right now?
I'll tell you my issues right now.
Obamacare.
It is Obamacare.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Obamacare is the sorriest excuse for universal health coverage I've ever seen in my life.
It's not universal health care coverage, dude.
I said it was the
really?
sorriest excuse for it.
Yeah.
Now this is a really good example of how the government gets it fucking wrong. I couldn't be more dissatisfied with my experience with the insurance industry, with healthcare in general, and the affordability of it. Everybody has argued for, it's going up. We've got to do something. The Affordable Care Act accelerated the cost of healthcare.
Wow. Because why do you think that?
Well, I think that
Or how is it in your personal?
it is actually everything. Some of the things that you guys have been talking about, and it is some of the other things. The Affordable Care Act, because is really a huge windfall for the insurance industry.
Corporatism.
Yes. Being aided and abetted by very poorly thought out rulemaking and policy making.
Okay.
There were other plans at the time. I actually liked John McCain's plan a whole lot better.
I think that's the first time that his name has ever been mentioned on this podcast.
Well, I am a statist, so I got to play all sides of the street.
Yes, Statist net. So,
And his basic tenet is that you get a block grant depending on how many people are in your house and how many people you take it right off the top of your income taxes to pay for healthcare. And if you had just done that and taken out the pre-existing condition clause for denying people insurance, I think you could have achieved just as many people being covered as you could under the current plan, which is burdensome and has accelerated the cost of the cost of healthcare. What the exact mechanism is, I'm not entirely sure, but I do know the numbers. I can see them. In 2006, I was paying $350 a month for a family policy. I had the same number of kids, same wife, same everything. Now I'm paying more than triple that.
jeez.
For a policy that doesn't even give me as good coverage as what I had previously been afforded for, a third that cost.
Well, dude, that's just the wonders of the market when it can be perverted by government. Dude,
like I
Also
said,
inflation too. I mean, you factor in inflation.
inflation.
Limited choices.
Right now, there is no inflation.
Oh, geez. We don't even want to go down another tangent. Go down another road.
I say there's fucking plenty of inflation, man. It's like fucking, it's costing me like 3 times the amount to eat at McDonald's or something. I mean, it's pretty fucking, I don't know. I remember prices when I was a teenager, not even like 20 years ago, being, less than half of what they are now at like McDonald's and Burger King,
Now, how much of that is just really due to the vagaries of the market?
How so?
Well, obviously you would think that if you had an increased cost for goods and services to supply to the consumer, that you would you'd pass that on to the consumer, and so
Oh,
as the consumer's price would go up.
I mean, you can say that could be due to the taxes in the market, regulations placed on the market, are going to force prices to go up and thus make your money worth less. And, another thing would be inflation, countlessly printing more money. And, as you keep printing more,
that in essence is inflation.
Is inflate? Yes. Is it?
Yeah. So it's
a blind
happening.
tax.
No, actually, that's not. What that is deflation. If you're printing more money, every dollar that you have is worth less because there are more of them.
No, deflation is when prices go down.
Right. What doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah. But but at any rate, I mean, prices have been going up, and people are making as much or less than they used to. So
I would certainly agree that wages are flat.
Yeah, I mean, and prices are going up. So it's a pretty scary situation right now.
I don't think much in the way of consumer prices. I mean, I think they climb at a much more measured level than eggs, milk, gas, gasoline. For crying out loud, gasoline's the single cheapest liquid that I buy outside of water. And that's kept artificially low by corporations at the behest of God knows how many states. So is that a good thing? Do we have energy prices so low?
It is, but I don't know. There's a lot of other factors involved in that, but to deny that inflation is non-existent, I don't know where do you shop, Ned?
Oh no.
Where do you go grocery shopping?
Let me know where that is.
Tell me where this magical place is where prices have been
right. I've been going down. No. Yeah, obviously. So is it due? I don't think any of us really has a good grasp on what the exact drivers of it are in every single instance. Like I said, some things don't seem to be getting terribly more expensive. Other things do. Everything climbs sort of incrementally to keep you in the cage.
No,
like
I
running
think a
like
lot
a rat
of
on
it
a wheel.
Well, dude, a lot of it's the Federal Reserve, and when you place taxes on businesses, they're only going to pass them on to consumers, so a lot of it's that, and I think the Federal Reserve is the most of it guaranteed right there. It makes our dollar worth less, when it's not backed,
So if
and
our
it's also the
worth,
reason why China wants to stop dealing using the American dollar. Because, we owe them so many of them, and they're just being worth less and less, and they feel like they're getting ripped off.
And this goes back to the TPP. Wonder why they're not involved in this trade agreement.
Well, it's obviously to place some sort of strategic advantage for the United States trade-wise in opposition to China. Because if you look at the map, all the countries that are involved in the TPP are pretty much everybody in Southeast Asia.
Like Japan,
Korea,
and also too,
Singapore.
The advantage goes to those huge United States corporations,
right?
Not necessarily.
But more importantly,
the American people, but the
more
American
importantly,
people shouldn't necessarily have an unfair advantage over the rest of the world too. I want to point out.
These corporations, they sit.
Do you think it will always
buildings.
work? Do you think it will always work that way? Will there not be some instance where some corporation in Singapore can take an American corporation to these secret tribunals and gain advantage and win the case?
No, at any rate, I don't think anybody should be able to do that
because it's secret.
No, say if an American corporation is using the package of a cigarette design that a Chilean corporation uses. It's who gives a shit?
Well, this goes back to the whole argument that we've had about intellectual property rights, but I think we have an entire another show about that one. So I'm not going to delve too far into it there.
Dude, I love talking about IP, and I'll talk about it anytime, man.
Okay. I think a lot of what this is, at least on our side, is to try and...
Whose side are you on, Ned?
Well, all right. So, America's side.
I don't know. I'm confused right now.
From the administration, its corporate backers, whatever. Like their main focus, I think, for a lot of this, is intellectual property.
Totally, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
where
a
I
great
first
way to
heard
just
that.
sit there and collect a lot of money and
that's how I
increase
first heard about it.
increase wealth inequality. I mean, it's fucking awesome, dude. I mean, you're all about it, right?
What I'm not about
You're all about increasing the wealth inequality, right? That corporations, are able to do with the help of intellectual property laws.
I have been arguing this entire program that I think one of the roles of the state is to protect the citizenry against corporations. So no, I don't. That's one of the reasons I don't like this.
Well, dude, corporations wouldn't even exist without the state. So it's like government creating a problem, and then after government creates this problem, you propose the government make the solution. Well, why don't we just get rid of the problem that government created? How? Just end corporations. Corporations get no special privileges.
Okay, so what is that legislation look like? How does that rulemaking look like?
I mean, maybe you could just start out. There's just no special corporate privileges, and I also believe no business should pay a tax. I think
So what
I
point?
mean, ultimately, I don't believe in taxation at all. But say if you're going to have it, and if you're going to scale it back, why not just start with a motto: no businesses pay taxes. No businesses are also receive corporate welfare from the government, because you've got a lot of corporate welfare going on from the government. You end that. Businesses shouldn't have to pay taxes. Here's why: because when they say you do believe in taxation, which I know you do. Okay, so you say you cut it back to this. Whenever the corporation, whenever they or the business, whenever they pay somebody, that person is going to be taxed on it. Why should the same money be taxed twice? Why not leave? Okay, why not just tax the money that the person is?
Do you want to generate? What would be your mechanism for generating revenue for the state? I'm just devil's advocate here because I know you don't really believe in the state.
Okay. I'm talking about
if you had to do it.
I'm talking about just cut it down to this point. Okay.
Right.
Say okay, because we're probably not going to have anarchy tomorrow, dude. So say you cut it down, you get taxes off corporations, and then when corporations pay their CEO, blah blah blah, X amount of dollars or whatever, or because you've already got your fucking income tax going on.
Mm-hmm.
Is to say even then you cut that down to a flat rate, but the money that stays in the corporation, then or the business, then they're if it's going to stay there, they're not spending it on big screen TVs and fucking SUVs. If it's going to stay in that business, they're only going to use it to improve that business. They're only going to use that to create more jobs, to create more product.
That would be ascribing motivations to corporations, which I think have been demonstrated throughout history are not necessarily ones that you can trust them to do. Corporations may not necessarily seek to create wealth for the larger group. They may simply decide that,
it's not their job to, dude. But if you had a free market,
I think that's one of the
you had a free market to where these large corporations aren't able to write in regulations to decrease their competition, you would in effect have more competition.
Okay, so we're living in a society where 1% of the population owns 49% of all the dollars that are made in this country. 1% of the population.
How did that happen though?
By lack of oversight,
or maybe too much. Maybe
too much oversight.
Okay, now and you guys were only kids back then, but I lived through the Reagan years, and one of the things that Ronald Reagan was very instrumental in doing was reshaping the tax code.
Does this go from the punk rock libertarians to the GOP libertarian or GOP?
He's
we're talking Reagan.
Yeah.
Reagan.
Yeah,
Reagan.
I mean, we'll fucking
Reagan.
talk whatever, dude.
He's like a GOP debate right now.
Yeah.
We're dropping Reagan.
Okay, so tell us, Statist Ned.
All right, so
tell us what happened in the 80s.
Living
all right,
in
so
the 80s. Living in the 80s. That was some Zero Boys.
I like the Zero Boys. Anyway, by dropping top income tax rates, and this is pretty standard for a lot of the GOP administrations subsequent to them, by dropping individual top tax rates. What they've allowed people to do is amass huge amounts of wealth because they have essentially bought the system, right? I mean, they play the game better than anybody else, right? So now, do you think that if you're dealing with a and I think we both agree that amassing huge amounts of corporate wealth is a bad thing for the country as a whole. Can I get an agreement with you on that?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to strike the root. I'm just trying to get it goes before that, it's happened because the system has allowed it to.
Well, the system didn't always allow it to.
But the system shouldn't even exist in the first place to basically sort of this to allow that they can basically buy off that they basically, the state can create laws for them to benefit over others. It's
a zero-sum game. When you're talking about money, some people have the money and some people don't have the money, and people who are able to amass huge private fortunes and
through intellectual property. Ned, come on, dude, leave the dark side.
Okay,
come over with us.
Like I said, I have a whole outline about the IP argument, but I don't have it with me because I did just run up here on a whim. But
on a whim,
yeah, you can do the return of Statist Ned, and we can do an entire podcast devoted to IP.
Dude, you should tell us about your scrimmage over to my house from 4 houses down.
Scrimmage?
Yeah, or pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, scrimmage.
Matt calls me up. Hey, dude, Jared canceled. Can you come up and do the podcast with us? You'll get to be Statist Ned. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Dude, I've just been dying to refer to you as Statist Ned all night.
Oh, it's a great name.
I know, dude.
I love it. I briefly toyed around with the idea that I didn't think it was a good idea to use my own name, but nothing has the ring. So where are we off to now? Poverty.
We could go there. We could go
drug testing, welfare.
The drug testing, the welfare. I think we've been talking war on poverty and wages, and so let's go down. Let's talk about the drug testing and the welfare recipients, and just. So where has this transpired, Matt? What states have adopted this?
I'm not sure how many states have adopted it, but apparently
Florida's one of them.
But apparently recently a lot of information was compiled on Think Progress, and apparently it has costed twice as much to catch welfare recipients on drugs than the money that they've been able to save by kicking the people that are on drugs off of welfare.
That's really weird for such a Republican state to not have thought to means test something like that.
I mean, why, dude? Republicans spend more than Democrats a lot of the time.
But aren't they supposed to be somewhat more fiscally conservative as a group?
Supposed to be. I mean, that's what they preach, but they don't always do what they do, you could say, Democrats are supposed to be more peaceful people. Barack Obama was the 2012 peace candidate, or 2008 peace candidate, rather. And,
everybody rolled their eyes a little bit at that one.
He only went off to, bomb more countries than Bush. I think he's at 7 or 9, and Bush only hit 4, So, it seems like both sides, neither side ever really plays the role that they claim that they're going to play.
There is a problem with truth in advertising. I think that's one of the big problems that come up again and again in a lot of these conversations, and that is the lack of trust that people have in the state, and that's not a good thing, because the state
maybe
doesn't.
It is a good thing though, because if the state always lets you down, do you really want people trusting in them?
Well, but at the same time
Dude,
too,
maybe the problem
if
is
you're
the
going to have
solution,
some
dude.
kind of hierarchical, structure in your society, and you're
I'm
gonna need
against
that.
hierarchical structures, dude. I'm a punk rocker.
I know that
dude.
about you.
Who are you? Who are you? I'm
Who
a
are you
punk
talking
rocker.
to?
I'm a punk rocker, dude.
Right.
I'm against hierarchical structures.
How do you feel about courts?
I mean, we were talking about this last week, dude.
Yeah.
Did you listen? We were talking about like private arbitration versus public courts. So I mean, you could.
I have advised. Yeah, yeah. There's a role. There's a role.
You could have law
There's a
without
role.
government.
There's a role for private arbitration. But what if you have two parties that really legitimately can't agree?
Well, I mean, what if right now, you've got a cop that obviously did something wrong, but I mean, how often does the state really go against the state?
But what if it's you? But what if it's
get away with cold-blooded murder?
But what if it's you and
keep
me?
Their job, get a promotion.
But what if it's just you and me, right? I don't know. I have a tree in my yard and it falls into your yard, and I refuse to pay for it, right? It's obviously my fault, but I'm refusing to pay for it. I'm not going to do it. You come over to my house, you knock on the door, and I'm just like, fuck you, dude. I'm not paying for it. You cut it up. I'm not even going to cut it up. How do you deal with a legitimate dispute between two private citizens? With using private arbitration?
I mean, essentially, you would have, different groups, and you would find one that, I mean, it's basically if you had like a private arbitration company that was, doing like making like corrupt decisions, and they were getting bought
What
off
about
and
this?
doing a
What
bad
about
job.
what about this?
They
What
wouldn't
about
stay around for long.
the private representative from the private arbitration company comes over to my house and says, "Hey, we need to get into talks about this tree you dropped in, that fell into your neighbor's yard." And I say, "Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to talk to you. You tell that guy I'm not paying him a cent." What happens then?
Oh man, I don't know, dude.
Right. So you need right? I mean, do you then call in his freelance police to come sweat me? I mean, that's just gangsterism right there.
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of gangsterism going on right now, man. You've got, police killing, over 2,000 people this year.
No lie, it goes on the official level too. But I mean, I can't think that having a 100% freelance police force is a really good idea.
I mean, I can't think that having a monopoly on that violence is the best idea. I think competition, nobody will want to subscribe to somebody's
Police force?
Police force, to somebody's protection if they're not doing a good job,
Okay, so then if your police force does the best job, has the best results,
Yes.
right, then more people will voluntarily join with your police force.
Okay.
Okay, so eventually it becomes bigger and bigger, larger and larger, right? More people, starts out with 50 people, goes to 100, 150 people, thousands, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Are you not a state?
No, I mean, okay. Honestly, I don't believe it would go that big. Honestly,
Mhm.
I think in the ideal libertarian society, you would have more people making decisions by region, like for their region. You wouldn't have like people on the other side of the country who know nothing about your region or what's best for you, or how you should live your life, imposing their will on you through force. So I mean, I honestly believe it would be more of like a demographical thing, and I think you could also have different police forces like working together,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, like I think the goal is like nonviolence, and I can't imagine any more violence than the current state that we live in, where we've got a government monopoly on violence, and the United States is imposing its empire all over the world. And I don't know who would pay for that if it wasn't forced on them to pay for it. who's going to volunteer money to bomb, Iraq or Iran or whoever,
Yeah, have a
Who's gonna donate to
line
that,
item veto on your tax form.
Who's going to donate to that? But I do honestly believe people would donate to charity. And I honestly believe more people would donate to charity if, so much of their paycheck wasn't, lifted off of them in the first place.
Thoughts on charity, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. We're the most charitable country in the world, and if you were able to keep more of the fruits of your labor, I think we as individuals would be more apt to be able to give to charities that are better suited to take care of the lesser and the needy in our society, and it would be dispersed more equitably than through the force of government.
Word. So anyways, Statist Ned.
Yes.
So you're kind of feeling the burn?
I'm kind of feeling the burn a little bit.
Really?
Have you seen a doctor about that?
That could be
Well,
like
it's
chlamydia.
I have a cream, but yeah. So I have been very enamored with Bernie Sanders.
Enamored. That's a good vocab
Yeah,
word.
that's.
Points.
I think the main reason that I like the guy so much is because though I don't agree with 100% of his platform, he sounds to me like the only guy who's out there who is not spewing fear, who is not spewing ignorance, who is willing to compromise on stuff and actually fix things for a change. Instead of trying to build a wall like Donald Trump does, to try and be like Ted Cruz like style wackadoo, selling fear and isolation to basically what is the aging white male population of this country. Instead of actually getting down and possibly fixing some of the things. Now, I do have a tradition of voting my conscience rather than a party line. I am not affiliated with either the Republican or the Democratic Party. But I do think that it is my civic duty as a member of the state to vote in the election and to vote my conscience in the
Do
election.
you think it should be forced?
Should it be compulsory to vote?
Should voting be compulsory?
I don't think in my heart of hearts that is gonna do anything to really elevate the conversation.
So no, you don't think it should be compulsory?
I don't think it should be compulsory. No, it's a voluntary thing. You should feel a responsibility as a citizen of your state to vote. It's your civic duty to be involved in the politics. Now, we can argue the mechanisms and how that all ends up working, and I have problems with some of that stuff. But I think it is the duty of everybody who lives within. I mean, if you're going to subscribe to the thing where the rules that are drawn up for the private citizen are less than they are drawn up for the corporate citizen in a state, then you should at least exercise the ability that you have to participate in that decision-making process.
And, I can respect your point of view for a couple of reasons. First off, I do think, I think voting's something that you can do rather easily to, possibly make a difference, whether you're even voting for fucking Mickey Mouse,
Right.
I mean, and so I respect that. I know a lot of people that listen are probably, what's the word I'm looking for?
You could use the cliche, and it is a cliche that if you don't vote, you can't bitch about it. That's kind of how I see it.
Flip that. You could totally flip that. Be like,
yeah,
look.
you could flip that, and you could say if you vote, you're responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's there's two sides to every coin,
Right.
and both of them make a little bit of sense. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle. I could vote for
So semi-compulsory voting.
I think I could vote for Mickey Mouse and make a statement.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, like I think that's something in and of itself. Voting's very short. It doesn't take you that much time, and it is a way to possibly affect some change.
Right.
The sad thing is, and I think we both agree. I'm sure you probably voted Green yourself a few times, huh?
I voted Green. I voted Libertarian. I voted on a number of different tickets. I voted for Ralph Nader even.
Yeah.
I voted for Ross Perot, but that was because I wanted to see
something different,
political change within the framework of the electoral process, and that doesn't seem to happen a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, it totally sucks, and yeah, I mean, it really sucks that we can't have something like instant runoff voting, where you pick your favorite candidate. If they don't win, your vote will automatically go to your second favorite candidate, so it's not wasted.
Right.
So people could have the balls to vote for a third party option.
Well, that's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel.
Make the discussion larger.
Well, that's some of the romance about Bernie Sanders. It's because he is sort of this underdog thing, and he's
romance.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a political campaign. It's show business.
Props,
we know
man.
this. We know.
I'll give him props in that. I'll give him props in some ways. I'll give him props in that when you look at his donors, it's like. It's a little more impressive than every
it's
other
quite.
candidate,
It's actually probably one of the more impressive donation campaigns to a political figure in recent memory.
Yeah, and not just to the fact that he's raising a lot of money. He's raising a lot of money, and of course that's going to be impressive. But the most impressive thing is he's not raising. It's not like somebody's donating like $1 billion.
Right.
He's donating a lot of money.
There's a
from
genuine
a lot
constituency
of different
there.
People. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it does seem like.
Now,
like
do I
thing.
do I think that Bernie Sanders promises, pie in the sky, and will he be able to deliver on all that? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not fooled by that.
We're not all going to get a pony?
No, we're not all going to get a pony. Now, if you vote for Vermin Supreme, and I've considered that before, you would get a pony.
No, yeah, I would have no problem voting for Vermin. And I'll be the dude, if it's like Trump, Hillary, and fucking Austin Peterson gets the Republican
what the
nomination.
fuck, dude? I heard about this, and I'm like, really?
No, Austin Peterson gets the Libertarian nomination.
Oh my god, that's
Austin
what I heard.
Peterson
I'm like,
running
this
for the
fucking
Libertarian
guy?
Party. Yeah,
Oh,
fuck
man.
that dude.
Really?
Man.
God, I swear to God, dude, if that happens, oh man. Wow, I saw that article the other day, and I was like, no, please, is this an Onion article? But yeah.
No, yeah, he's been getting out there and promoting it.
For what?
Like,
what has he
I don't
ever
know.
done? Like, what has he done? Like, you know,
Who
what
is
I mean?
this? Who is this guy?
the-
'Cause you'll forgive me if I give us a little backstory.
Statist Ned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Austin Peterson is he runs this website called the Libertarian Republic, and they're like the most clickbaity piece of shit liberty website ever.
Yeah, dude. You go on their website, you got to click through a bunch of shit, and there's a bunch of fucking pop-ups, and it's so annoying. And it's like some of the most basic
It's
bitch
like libertarian
articles
clickhole.
ever. The people that write for it just anyways. But do go on that.
Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, if that's the case, I'd fucking vote for fucking Vermin Supreme. Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, take anybody over those three options.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
It is, and he does have a certain anti-corporatist streak to him too, and that's attractive to me.
Bernie?
Yeah.
Burn?
Yeah.
You're still talking about
Yeah, I'm
burning?
still talking.
Burn?
Are we still have a little burn time?
Yeah, we're talking.
Yeah, all right, cool.
We can talk about Bernie. I mean, it's like fucking. Why not talk about Bernie? Everybody's talking about Bernie.
Yeah,
Well-
all the cool kids are talking about him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and then talk about why I don't like him.
Okay. Why don't you like him?
I mean, for a number of reasons. It was. I thought it was pretty lame when he came out against Uber. He said, "I have big problems that Uber is unregulated." Okay, well, that's all that he fucking said. He couldn't state, okay, well, what's your problem, dude? A lot of people like Uber. The only reason Uber is even allowed to exist is that they use technology and they in a sense, got ahead of government. And now government is kind of chasing them, trying to regulate them. And it's not going to work out good. It's not going to work out good for the people. Right now, people love Uber, dude. They're getting a what seems to be most of the time a good product at a good price,
So if you're driving for a living, and say I'm an Uber driver,
Yes.
right?
You are talking to an Uber driver right now.
Are you?
Ned, so watch
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you watch it, dude?
Statism. Bring it.
All right. All right. So
Just Ned.
Yeah.
So you're in your car, which is your personal car,
Right.
right?
Which I have insurance for.
Okay, which you have insurance for. Do you have insurance for that's compensate to the amount of damages that you might incur for somebody else's property that you're riding around in your Uber car?
Well, yes. Yeah.
Yes?
I do.
Okay. That's
their
good.
policy meets their standards. I had to supply them with all the Statist documents, i.e., all the driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. Which
Do you think that was a good idea?
I think proof of insurance is a good idea. Well, I mean, yeah. Well,
do you think it's a good idea?
All three are good, but
Right.
I don't think I need to. In a perfect world, I don't think I need to get a driver's license or have to register my vehicle with the state. But
Okay, so now we're in Central Africa here.
don't worry about it.
And you're
But
driving like
we're talking right now. We're talking right now. I supplied them with more than enough, in my eyes, as a responsible individual to show them I'm a responsible individual, and that
Do you think that was a good thing?
I think for what I provided for them to determine.
Do you think
I
there's
think so.
there's some level of documentation that provides at least some
Dude,
assurance
you're
of possible objective proof of your action?
Hey, Ned, you seriously just didn't pull out the documents on Alex Seagal, did you?
I did.
Well, okay, so all right, so I have enough to provide for the public that hey, when you're getting in my vehicle, everything is good to go.
Okay.
So therefore, I don't think when it comes to taxi cabs, well, do go on, Ned.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. So you're gonna trust Uber to give you a recommendation that will protect you from liability in terms of what they're suggesting that you provide yourself with insurance, right? Or do you think that they possibly could be providing you with fraudulent information and in such a way that they have limited liability in an accident that you might have?
I have my own insurance, so it doesn't matter.
Right, but what if your insurance really isn't? I mean, have you done any research other than beyond just taking their word for it?
I've looked up my coverage.
Okay.
I think it's adequate for what I do. Look, in a free society, there's going to be risks.
Right.
But I feel the whole Uber argument when it comes to Bernie Sanders is that he didn't give any reasons why. And you look at his donor base, and it's a lot of unions, and there's a lot of, you have a lot of the cab companies well, not so much in Baltimore, but you see it going on around the world and around this country.
So a union is a voluntary organization.
Well, not the unions itself, but just the regulations, the regulations and the licensing to run all the expenses by the state make it harder for cab companies to operate. That's why they want to exclude Uber
because they're not
viable
quite
competition because they've gone around the barriers to entry.
That's a pretty understandable motivation, though, don't you think? And do you think that there could be some legitimate, other than their vested self-interest, to stay employed as a licensed cab driver, right? When they're competing directly against you as an Uber driver, do you think that is
right? But I think
it's bad, or is that just? I mean, it's self-serving, of course.
It's self-serving, and it's also misguided. Where it's like because you see it going on, it's cities and municipalities and townships and counties are making it harder and harder for Uber to operate, whereas they're looked upon as they're the ones that are innovating. They're what the market wants. They're what the consumer wants. But what the
consumer really wants is that short-term economic gain, and just I don't want to pay so much goddamn money for cab fare.
Right, exactly. but you're right. But
so give them what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Okay.
Give the people what they want.
Okay.
And what they want, and the state being heavily regulating the cab industry for decades, it's not there hasn't been any technological revolutions. There hasn't been any advancement. You're sitting in a crusty, shitty cab with someone who could
Well,
barely.
I agree. I hate taking
doesn't
cabs
even
too.
have GPS.
Yes.
And you get in, and the meter's already at whatever, how much. And no, the people got sick and tired of it, and they're reeling, and they want the state via their monopoly, to basically cut out their competition. That's what.
So do you think that should
then
be?
There's this fear mongering of, oh my god, oh my gosh, I heard Uber's unregulated. I heard they don't license. I heard this, that, whatever. The same argument that the what if scenarios or the sky is falling and all these tragic scenarios that could possibly happen with riding an Uber is the same fucking shit that could happen in riding in a state
Now,
monopolized
I'm
cab company.
There's a friend of mine had a very funny Facebook post about a week ago when he said that I'm pretty sure my Uber driver is drunker than I am.
Right.
Dude, you don't think cab drivers drink, dude?
Yeah, let's be fair. The same shit that happens is just the same thing that can happen in a cab. All these the hysteria, the media reports, etc. about Uber, the same shit could happen and has been happening in taxi cabs. It's just, I don't know. It's just they just want to cut them out. That's it. Bottom line.
It's change, and it's
changed, and they're reeling. Yeah. It's changed, and they've stepped up their game, and so basically, these archaic cab companies are basically falling back to please state, please save us. That's your only hope to compete.
If for example that and neither one of us have any data on this because it's all so new, right? But just
I got the documents.
You got the documents?
No.
You got them in your briefcase
not right
there?
now. Next podcast.
But you would generally kind of conform to the to the idea that it was a good idea for somebody to be checking on you to see that you had insurance,
right,
and a driver's license.
Well, that's in Uber's interest as a company to make sure that people that
you know how to drive a cab, that you know how to drive a car,
right? I look at it this way: it's in the own best interest of said company to make sure of that. Now, is that the role of the government, or is that in the best interest of a private company?
What if you have a very self-centered company who likes to cut costs and likes to, try and see how much they can push it and get away with stuff, and they say, hey, we're going to relax our own corporate policy. Oh, there's that word again. But
I would just allow the market to sort this out and not government.
But what if people were dying as a result of that?
What ifs? I would just allow the market and individuals.
So you're walking backwards. You've heard the Chinese proverb that everybody walks backwards through their life because you can only see what's behind you, and not what's in front of you.
Okay.
Right? So,
man, we're getting deep. Statist Ned's bringing the philosophy.
Do you think that you couldn't, that's actually true? I don't think that's true. I think you can't see what's going on in the future, but based on what you've seen in the past, can't you make an intelligent decision about how you should operate in the future because you've seen stuff before?
I guess if you want to keep living in the past. And then who do we get the angels to run this government?
Yeah.
Well, there are no angels. We all know that.
So back to Bernie, Statist Ned. So besides the Uber, this is all stemming from.
Well, yeah,
from Ned feeling the burn.
Yeah,
so
I'm feeling the burn, and like I said, I'm feeling the burn mostly because I like to see somebody in the main political sphere who's being somewhat activist and talking about social change and fixing things that I see as problems. I may not agree with the way that they want to see them fixed, but I do agree that they are problems and that they should be fixed. And I don't hear anybody else talking like that.
What are some things you you think he's addressing?
Well, I mean, I think he's addressing. Well, for me, this is a pocketbook issue completely because I have a son who's in college, and I think that the college tuition thing compared to what my parents spent on college and what I spent on college it's hugely more costly and is a burden for me economically and gives me trepidation because I have not one but 3 kids that I have to put through this.
Why do you think that has transpired? College tuition rates.
I think that they're
So here's my problem with Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
Here's my problem with him. He throws all this out there, which, yes, he's addressing that issue among others.
Right.
But he's not getting to the root cause of why is this transpiring and why is this taking place.
Again, I don't agree with
so
all
he's kind of like a populist. He's just like throwing stuff out there that everybody knows is true, but he's not offering solutions. Much like, or not even solutions, but he's offering solutions, but he doesn't have a basic understanding of why that is.
I think
this taking place?
I think that
going back, let's just discuss college tuition.
Okay.
Why do you think, Ned, college tuition is not the same when you went and your grandparents and you're concerned about, sending your children through college, that it's going to be 2, 3, 4 times as much as you or
right.
Your parents?
I've heard a lot of different debate on it, and I think it could be for a there is an archetype, if you will, in our society that if you go through primary school, K through 12, go to college, this should ensure you with something more than a blue-collar job.
Okay.
And it's kind of like it's like, hey, here's your little pin, you went to college. And because that is such a undercurrent of our society, that the market, being what it will, naturally says, hey, everybody perceives this. This is the demand. This is our demand. The demand is that we be able to, at least provide the impression that we are educating kids to the point where they can go out and find decent paying jobs. And
Ned, back up what you're saying though.
Sure.
You said guarantee somebody to a job. Who's
no,
guarantee somebody to a job?
This is the hypothetical that I was talking about, and this is getting back to my point, because it's not actually the objective reality. It doesn't guarantee you that anymore, right? But there is the perception that is still a thing to do, right? So if you're going to hedge your bet and be rather, conservative as a general rule and want to do what is the best thing for your kids, what's one thing that you could really do to help them out down the road? You send them to college. So the demand will go up. And I think colleges also brand themselves as luxury products and less so luxury products. And I have taken better courses at some of the nation's community colleges than I have taken at private colleges, right?
I would concur. I mean, I'm currently right now taking a class at the Community College of Baltimore County. It's
which are state funded.
Fine institution. Great. I mean,
are you at the Dundalk campus?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm taking a botany course, and it's
Dude, you hate me for making you admit that on the air?
It's all right, but it's a joke.
Flower arranging.
Well, I'm trying to.
It's okay.
I'm trying to get my piece of paper, and I got to take a 4-credit biology. So,
right.
Anyways, I digress. But what I'm getting at is basically, okay. So there's this. Okay, I think. And this exists, and it's been existing for years. It's called the education industrial complex, where
where
you basically have public schools that are dumbing kids down where I think kids could probably graduate with. I mean, you look at our parents and grandparents; they could graduate with a high school diploma, or maybe even a community college or a certificate, or like a trade school, and they could come out and be successful. But now it's just been dumbed down over decades. Whereas there's this, like you said, Ned, there's a societal like, well, you got to get a bachelor's degree, but it's so dumbed down where it's like it doesn't matter even if you get a bachelor's. These jobs don't even exist. Okay, so you're getting a bachelor's. These jobs don't even exist in said whatever you majored in, and then on top of that, because the economy is terrible, you have people with bachelor's degrees that are working in jobs that didn't even necessitate a college degree. And
in the
guess
first
what?
place.
And now, oh, by the way, you owe $60,000, $70,000,
$90,000
$90,000 in college loans because of this educational.
I have,
industrial.
I have relatives that are not far from me in age who have only recently paid off their college loan.
Right. Hey, guys, Jared was on here a few weeks ago, and he admitted that he would give Donald Trump a hand job if Donald Trump would pay off his $30,000 in student loans.
I heard
hand job in HJ?
Yeah, an HJ, dude. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, and Jeff Seagal didn't know what an HJ was. I had to explain it to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a head jibber? But
yep.
But no, I mean, but that's the problem with the college loans. They're basically, it's out there. The colleges know it's out there, so it creates a false demand. So the colleges know there's a demand for people wanting to go to kids out of high school going to a 4-year college. So tuition rates go up because they know the money's there, and I feel as though Bernie Sanders or any of these statists that are running for president don't understand that concept. That is why college tuition and college is so unaffordable, and why students are strapped with all this debt.
Hey, dude, did you see that video that was on earlier in the week where Steven Seagal said that he thought most mass shootings were engineered by the government?
Was this on InfoWars?
No, it was on RT.
Oh, Russia Today.
Yeah, apparently it was recorded 2 years ago, but just recently I've seen people sharing it, and it kind of sparked some interest with everything going on.
Yeah. I saw the video, and it sounded like it happened around the Newtown shooting in Connecticut, because he was referring to it.
Okay, so Ned, what do you think about that? Steven Seagal saying that he thinks most mass shootings are engineered by the government.
Well, Steven Seagal,
break it down.
He's I don't want to say unhinged, but definitely not operating with the same rules that I think a lot of people have for some kind of objective reality. And plus, he's a show business guy anyway.
Okay, so yeah, maybe it's kind of irrelevant because it was Steven Seagal. So, but I mean, it was kind of funny to watch, though.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But it is important to note that.
I mean, I think he's definitely taking some he's biting Jesse Ventura's style a little hard these days. The ponytail,
dude, he's always had the ponytail, dude. He had the ponytail before Jesse Ventura, dude.
Yeah.
But it's a good look for those guys.
Steven Seagal fucking invented the ponytail, dude.
Well, all right. So, but anyway, I think
that's a good look for a 60-some-year-old badass.
Right.
The ponytail.
You have to have the ponytail.
The ponytail.
Yeah, but I mean,
and he doesn't, and plus a lot of his movies are hard anyway. So I don't have a lot of respect for him.
I don't know, man. I thought Out for Justice was pretty cool.
Out for Justice was
I mean, don't
badass,
get me wrong. It was no American Ninja 2, but not many movies can be.
Yeah. What was the one where he was the chef on the ship?
Under Siege, dude.
Oh yeah. That was,
that's the worst.
That was terrible.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool, dude. You had naked Erica Ellernick jumping out of a cake.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, all right. Well,
But I mean,
but that had nothing to do with Steven Seagal.
But honestly, the point I was going with this whole Steven Seagal story, I think it's important to say that not everything that happens is a conspiracy, and when you suggest that everything that happened is a conspiracy, you kind of detract from the legitimate conspiracies.
Which is kind of odd because I think a lot of the stuff that sometimes when you and I talk sometimes sounds a little, and some of the stuff that I read on the PRL, it makes me raise my eyebrow a little bit and go, oh, that sounds pretty conspiracy.
I don't know. I think there are some legitimate conspiracies. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, it did.
I was actually talking about this with the dude that I worked with last night, and he was kind of like, I don't know. He was kind of like disagreeing at first, but one thing I brought up that he totally agreed with was like fucking when Bin Laden died. Like, I remember reading for years there was rumors that Bin Laden had already been dead for a couple years, right?
Right.
So then, they get this story that the SEAL team went in, blah, 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 killed him. And, it's just so unbelievable.
Oh, his corpse is in the bottom of, like, the NSA somewhere. They have him stuffed, and they throw darts
frozen in
at him.
carbonite.
Yeah, they didn't dump him off the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, but
I don't believe that for a minute.
Well, we know the official story's fucked either way,
Yeah.
I'm thinking he'd been dead for years, but he was kind of their golden goose. So, as long as he's alive, he's the fucking boogeyman, and you can fucking bomb any place you want. You know what I mean? He was a major trump card for U.S. imperialism, all over the world.
So you think the whole thing was a fake? I mean, it sounds entirely improbable.
Here's the thing, though. All right, so here I'm gonna break it down because I don't have the document.
Break it down, dude. You
I
don't
thought
have
you had the
documents.
document.
Okay, so the whole Bin Laden raid. Okay, the whole Bin Laden raid. I mean, it was just hokey to begin with, and I mean, you watch that movie, SEAL Team 6. It was the most. It was. Have you seen it, Matt?
No, dude.
It was terrible.
I
just wanted to watch it. I
propaganda.
knew it was going to be terrible. It was just going to be propaganda, but I just wanted to watch it just to see like how ridiculous they take this story. But my whole thing is like, just okay. So Obama's like, he needed an America fuck yeah story.
Right.
He needed an America. Yeah, we got him.
We're the Avengers.
We rule.
Right.
He needed that. He needed that. So,
I think George Bush didn't need that?
Oh, he did too. So
why didn't he just make it up?
Well, I don't know. But
Well,
let's
I mean,
think.
if anybody was
But
going to make,
just
if anybody would have had the motivation to make it up, it would have been him.
Just like Matt was saying, you needed that boogeyman out there for so long for the military-industrial complex to prosper, and then maybe it was time we're like, hey, we need to bring this to the end. There's going to be some more interventions down the line, i.e. Libya, Syria. We're going to make our money. Let's bring this Afghanistan.
So would he call Barack Obama on the phone and say, hey, listen, man, I handed this one to you. This is the best thing ever.
But where I was getting at is, okay, so the whole story in itself.
Which would make sense with your narrative, which is that, it's all one continuous,
But the story, like what happened, like, you remember they were posting those pictures of Hillary Clinton and Biden and Obama and the Joint Chiefs and all that,
around.
and they're all there,
Yeah.
and they're supposedly like watching this as if it's like they're watching a video game,
which is conceivable,
maybe, possibly, but let's just put it this way: so they went into Pakistan,
right, under the radar.
Under the radar, so they basically. More or less.
Yes, they invaded Pakistan.
Invaded a sovereign country.
Right.
Like, some black ops. We went in there, whatever. But then they
released.
did. But then
who are we screaming at right now for violating like sovereign nation's airspace?
Right. So, but here's what I'm getting. So why, if that really did transpire, why would they be posting all these pictures of Hillary Clinton and Obama and Biden with those concerned looks on their face, like, oh wow, the SEAL team's going in there, like they're watching some fucking video game? Wouldn't you want
even
to
assuming it was real,
even if happen,
even if it did happen,
wouldn't you want the plausible deniability to Pakistan to say, hey, we didn't invade your country with a SEAL team. No, that didn't happen. Like, it's such fucking bullshit.
I mean, do you honestly think that the Pakistani military wasn't in on it?
Well, they probably were. I mean, it doesn't matter. But I mean, just the fact that
I mean, who knows? We just know that the official stories.
it's so fucking riddled with
It's
bullshit.
Swiss cheese, dude.
Yeah.
It's like really, it's like okay, this guy, and then you're gonna dump him in the ocean because we have such
It's
respect
government
for.
approved.
Yeah, we went and we
Swiss
flew
cheese.
and we blew the stuff up and we lost a helicopter and then we flew him back and then we threw him off the end of the ship. I don't buy that for a minute. He's in the basement at either NSA or CIA, one of the two. They have him stuffed up.
And there was no private autopsy on him done, probably because he was dead for a year or two.
Yeah, you're telling like because that. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just going to assume for the sake of argument that it happened something like what they said.
I'm
he was
saying,
really
you
living
know.
in a compound.
But
And
wouldn't
then-
you? I mean,
And then there's also there's Operation Northwoods.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
okay.
Not only that.
There's MK Ultra. You know, there are plenty of legitimate government conspiracies. That's all I'm just pointing out.
Yes, and they
You
do
know,
occur.
I'm not a tinfoil hat. I'm not going to talk about. You know,
But they do,
I mean,
definitely.
but
yeah.
it does look good on you right now, Matt.
Thanks, bro.
No problem.
Oh, the Rays.
So, anyways,
The
guys,
Gluten Rays.
I think we're done for this week, and until next time, we're free.
Yeah.
Statism's footprint is the blood that is shed, drenching the flags of the tax bombs in red. Poisoned by a few at the expense of the many, sold to the gods in a death machine. You can't justify killing by economic gain. For God, country, and democracy, you can put freedom and gunpoint in a foreign land. You support the troops, then bring them home. I believe that you will do the best for you. And I believe that we have the power, I hate the state, and I know I'm a slave. We can make the break the power. Society owes individuals nothing more than non-interference with natural rights. Once a virtuous person fully comprehends the non-aggression principle, the violence of the state becomes obsolete.